Hello, I'm Kim Malinowski. This is being recorded November 10th, 2024. So technically it's for this week, coming up. But if you find this, please, take it as timeless. I've already pulled the cards, so they're pretty timeless. There's things and messages that people will need at different times or different courses. So whenever I find this, I'm using the Rooted Woman Oracle, and it's by Sharon Blackie with the artwork of Hannah Willow, and I highly recommend it. Also, a favorite of mine is the Inner Child Oracle, and it's loving guidance and renewal with Benny Blue, who is that lovely bunny. And it's by Teresa Salamno, and the artwork is by Christine Karen. I'm sure I probably pronounced things wrong. My apologies, but there you have it. I might go back and forth a little bit. And the Rooted Woman, we wound up getting like four places, and then like the final one is sort of like I think the message that sort of ends certainly the Rooted Woman reading, but sort of like also sort of encapsulates everything. So start with the places. If you are into numerology, this is the 9. It is more, Moor. So silence and simplicity. But it is the landscape, if you can see that sort of where we find ourselves that, it says that you can breathe better. I don't really live near more, but I'll go with it, sort of like a flatlands or, maybe a plateau of some sort where you can just breathe better. You should sort of feel sort of like a simpler energy within your body. There's silences. You're able to take in sort of the landscape and see further in the distance versus like in a forested area. So like this is also one of the ones I believe they call the other world. Well, it's characterized by a land of lack of trees and is low growing uncultivated vegetation. And their message is the solitude of the moor can sometimes make us feel uncomfortable. This card invites us to embrace the silence. And like in a time, in a world that sort of seems crazy, silence might be what we need. Like, I know social media is going nuts right now, as is the news, as is everything. This is being recorded, a week after the election of Donald Trump for a second term, you know, with one in between. I will not get into politics here. I think this should be like a pretty safe space, but I want to acknowledge that during this time, if you're finding this and you're finding yourself becoming more and more morose, or if you are scared, either because of any policies or anything that you think are going to change in the United States, and like it might change the whole world. So, like, I'm not like relegating it just to the United States. Okay. Perhaps the idea of just having a little bit of silence and asking our questions. Why are we afraid of living in silence? What questions are we afraid of having to answer? You know, I'm not big silence person. I've been living with dogs in a new neighborhood though. And like one comes up to my window, 6 a.m., barks very loudly. I have good ears, but still. And sets off the dogs until 11 p.m. at night. And then you have the humans screaming, "Shut up, dog." So like I have to admit that I appreciate the silence. The idea that sometimes we can use silence as an escape. Just turn off the TV, turn off the radio, turn off everything, and just breathe. And maybe we just need to talk. And like talking also, yes, it's not silence, but it's also not listening to somebody that you're not engaged with, right? Like you have to like be in like a conversation, but you turn off all those other things that are going on, and all those intrusive thoughts usually go away too. So perhaps there's a different type of silence that you might need too. I also think that it also brings mental clarity. When it's silent, you really know what you want to do. Like right now, I'll tell you the secret. I really want to get out of this house and I want to go exploring and I want to have fun. But I don't even know what fun is for me right now, right? We're in a constant state of flux and changing, and I want to see my friend, but I don't want to be a burden because then they'll be even more upset and they're my only friend in the area. And so silence, right? So I'm doing this reading, which I'm supposed to be doing. It is like one of my fundamental things for the Tarot Nova Lyceum to do, and I do enjoy doing it. But that doesn't mean that I don't also have that. I want to be doing something else, even though. So this is making me turn off that voice. Okay. And these did not come out in exactly the order. Okay. So I believe that it was actually 15, 9, 10, and whatever this one is, 16. So they didn't come out in numerical order, but it's a lot easier to try to discuss this in numerical order because I think it's all related. Otherwise, I would totally keep to what I pulled. I don't think it how can I say this? I don't think it corresponds to a day of the week or anything. Okay, I think this is just all good advice because I read through them. All right, so this our next card is 10, River. All right, and the idea is flow. And it's the idea of, that no stagnation, keeping things going. You have the silence of the more, and rivers aren't silent either. They're not, but there is something peaceful about them. No matter how rough they get, and even if they inspire fear, I always sense also a deep peace. And also like they are both part of me and not I am not part of them either. There's not like this synergy like in the forest where like I am one with the forest. I can never quite be one with the river, but the river sure can like bring the energy through me, and I can be like, I'm renewed. So that it's a little bit of a different type of renew. So if the silence doesn't work for you, perhaps having flow will. Figuring out exactly what you need to do during the day, what's absolutely necessary, what you want to do, balancing them out and making them sort of move together. Now, this, actually, I'm going to read it because why not? It says this card invites you to trust that the flow of life, to stop resisting and believe that the course you're taking, though often it will twist and sometimes it will turn back on itself, will eventually lead you home. Okay. Now, home is a very big word for me. I'm always searching for home. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. Like you don't really have a home or home as a person. So, like, home is a person for me. I feel most connected to this person. And I don't always know if it's, both ways, right? But I feel most at peace. I could be with this person forever, might kill the person and the person might kill me, but like how you can just feel that peace with a person. So I don't want to be like, it'll take you home. I don't want home to be the afterlife necessarily. And I also don't want home to have it so that it cannot be a person because it can be. So if you think about it like the river, let it like float that flow, the twists and turns or whatever it's talking about. Also remember, besides life, our interests are different, and as in my area right now, we're going into winter. It might be a different season for you. And it also might need, when you get this, it might be summer, spring, or whatever. We're going into fall, into winter. So we're going into my most dreaded holidays, which in the US no, and November is Thanksgiving. Oh, I hate it. And then Christmas. I also have to admit, I dislike Christmas. I have not figured out why. If it's the hubbub, I love the baking. Okay, so then what does that river do when you have all those mixtures? Well, it means that you flow through it. You get through Thanksgiving so that you can bake for Christmas and then don't celebrate Christmas. I don't know. But like, like it's definitely there's a way of becoming more at home within our bodies, I guess. More at home within ourselves if you don't want to be at home in your body. Because sometimes my body, I don't want to be at home with, it challenges me. Okay. But somewhere within us, we know where home is. Sometimes we don't know where or who or what, but we know that it exists somewhere. I've had a lot of friends been like, oh, home is in the past, and it can be there. Then somewhere, either in your spirit or in your heart, depending on how soon it was, then you can go there too. And that's a different sense of peace, right? Allowing the flow of movement, allowing the flow of thought, allowing the flow of where home is. It can change. And we're okay. We're allowed to change. A lot of people will tell you you're not, but you're definitely allowed to change. Now, the next one is 15 for those of you who need to know the numbers. And this is, I don't have these, so I might mispronounce it. It's Cairn, Cairn, portal to the mystery. Okay. And like, this is interesting. So I want to read just a little bit at the beginning of what it's talking about. Cause I like I said, I don't have these, so or know where they are. At some point, or indeed at many points along the journey of our lives, we'll find ourselves experiencing a sense of awe, otherness, which seems to arise from some inner necessity burning brightly at our core. If we're willing to apprentice ourselves to these teachers, we begin to find ourselves consumed by questions about the ultimate truth and meaning of our existence. But these are not questions which have easy answers. Perhaps the heart of the answers lies in the pondering of the question. The mystery of life and our place in it is something to sit with, not to solve. So already we have all those ones of ways of peace. And this is another one that's asking us to look either within or be at peace. And it's difficult. And it might be even more difficult with mystery, although I find it easier to be like, I can live with a question mark. It's when I can't change something that's the problem. All right, mystery is unknowable to the rational mind. To be comfortable in the company of mystery is to be willing to penetrate deep shadows of cairn, to take a walk in the dark and sit in it for a while. Mystery relieves us of the fiction that we know exactly where we're going, and that we're the sole authors of the story we're living. It keeps us on our toes. So, adding the peace, the flow, and the mystery, it sounds like we're asking and being asked to not just go with the flow, to allow like fun and like add mystery to our lives or recognize the mystery in our lives. We can have the peace and serenity with a bit of a question mark because it's difficult to keep. So, what if we can't keep the flow? What if we can't keep the more? Well, we can always find mystery. I mean, that is a lot of times like a way of staying alive and keeping existent. And I should say, keeping existent both fun, pleasurable. I mean, like whatever your word wants to be. Like having our minds be inquisitive. There's something about it that if I'm not thinking and I don't have like something on my mind, I doomsday. I get so anxious. I already live with a huge state of anxiety. I'm disabled and anxious, right? But like so you bring that into the mix and like having the mystery actually like going like, I don't have to solve everything. That problem is a mystery. I don't have to solve it right now. You might eventually solve it. Something else might bubble up. But like, it's not always a today problem, this moment problem. Sometimes you have to look deep within yourself for a long time problem, right? So this unrest, like my feeling of unrest is saying, I'm giving myself a half hour, half hour, 45 minutes, and I'm going to do my reading like I'm supposed to do. And then I'm going to flee, which is what I do personally. I flee. So then I will go to McDonald's or like I'm going to a different city and just gonna put on my audiobook and go for it. All right. And that's a way of, bargaining with ourselves. And at the same time, technically, I'm going with the flow. I still have a plan. It gives me peace, and it certainly adds the mystery because it's probably going to be dark. All right. And this is our last place. And I admit that I don't know anything about it. So this is 16, the Fisher King's Court. Otherworldly treasures. And this one is the other one that really talks about the other world, which is something that I don't necessarily know. I always hear about, the underworld. The other world, though, seems to be like the realm of spirit that is going on at the same time. The Fisher King's Court is a large body of European legends about the quest for the Grail, is an otherworldly source of nourishment and treasure, which can sometimes be seen in this world. This magical place, which is usually situated on the banks of a great wide river, offers more than fine food and jewels, the source of all treasures of the living earth, the wild things, the beauty of the natural world. In European traditions, the other world is a lush and fertile place. It might sometimes be dangerous with ample traps for the proud and unwary, but it's usually envisioned as a land of abundance, as a place of beauty and harmony, not darkness and terror. So, for those of you that have that terror right now, I think this is telling you a bit of balm is necessary, self soothing. It'll be okay. We have each other. And now mine is, of course, this is its timeline. But like if you are not in November 10th, 2024, and you're finding this, think of the same thing. Maybe there's some turmoil either with you or this is sort of like the call to like of the other world. I would say be the other world, be otherworldly, and like have a little fancy in your life. And also believe that, beauty will come back, that we are connected, that there is a spiritual side, and then there's always beauty in everything. Just have to find it. That's always the catch. I am a poet by the archetype of poet, and also, of course, I'm a poet, in terms of career. But I can find beauty in like the most dismal things. A lot of my work deals with war. A lot of it deals with atrocity, ugly things. But I can still find beauty and I can still find truth. And maybe it's knowing this other world, that there is a beauty that exists around us and within us that we don't always see. Trying to think if this says anything else. It talks about ancestors. It was just as real as our own world. It's supposed this book says that it will remind us we'll always have our greatest source of joy and nourishment in the magic of the land, which is the gifts of the other world. It reminds us to be grateful for and respectful of the abundance we're offered. So basically, it is like saying, find it, believe it, go through all those different paths and different places within yourself. Find what works for you to have some sort of peace of mind. Not easy, but it's something that we can at least attempt for ourselves. It might be one of the greatest gifts that we can give. A lot of times we'll say love is the greatest gift, and it is. But I think also safety and peace are another thing. And I think that's what this is really offering us. Our final one, which I think is probably also good for the entire reading, is serve sovereignty. I have problems with it. Sorry, I have problems with the actual word sovereignty saying it. The power of the land. 3. Okay. Trying to decide where I'm like, I have this big blank. Okay, so like I'm gonna insert myself before I read the book. So the power of the land, right? The sovereignty. I think that we have to embrace the land, right? All those different magical places came to us out of a lot of other stuff that could have, it's the rooted woman does not, it's not all places. Certainly. It's amazing that we got 4 of them. So the power over the land, we were given those places, right? So our power, I think, is not necessarily in changing the land or the landscape, which humans are known to do. I think it's also about existing it and like loving it and cherishing it and bringing it within ourselves and seeing ourselves within it. I mean, like just seeing our wildness, seeing our fun, play. Um, Even when we rest, you know, really like, they call it rooting down, or, really getting, deeply connected to the earth, rooting and then taking in sunlight and that sort of stuff. That's another way of looking at it too. So you could say energetically, but also just finding it within yourself. All right. So the Celtic divine female in all her various incarnations was deeply grounded and rooted in place, indivisible from her distinctive landscapes. They are manifestations of sovereignty, a quality of the goddess of the land, who was its guardian and protector. Sovereignty was the spirit of the earth itself, the anima mundi, a deeply ecological force. The power of sovereignty was paramount. During the reign of a king favored by the goddess, the land was fertile and prosperous, and the tribe was victorious in war. But if the power she bestowed was abused, then the people invited disaster. Sovereignty is an ally who reminds us that the land must be respected. Well, there's mutual respect between the goddess and the king, the land and the people, nature and culture, feminine and masculine, then life is filled with abundance. But when we refuse to live in balance and fall out of harmony with the world around us, the fertile land becomes the wasteland. In this context, sovereignty also reminds us that the source of our power as a woman, and I'm including everyone, okay? I don't think it necessarily has to be as a woman as in female. All right, you can say yin yang, female, all right. My pronouns are she, they, so hi. And the image of the divine, which live within each of us, comes from the land. We must now become its guardian and protectors. And I say, yes, we have to become the guardian and protectors. But I think also, it's also a flip. I think the land is becoming our guardian and protector. Okay, so I think, yes, there has to be a back and forth, right? We have to protect, whatever. But I think it's protecting us. Okay. So those, I mean, like, I don't want to say these aren't deep messages that are coming, but those are the deep ones. Okay. Now, if you are living right now, say, I bring joy to the world. And I say living right now as we're all living right now, right? But I mean, like, living in the United States on November 10th, 2024, no matter which side of who won, celebrate. And Some people will be very angry that other people are celebrating over everybody else. And other people will say, I can't celebrate. And the answer is we have to celebrate. So now let's flip the election out of the air. Okay. So whenever you're reading this, you need to smile, even if it's fake, with all this teeth. All right. And you have to find something fun to do. Now I'm trying to decide, like, how am I going to celebrate? Because I feel lonely. Oh my gosh, blah, 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 blah. But we have to find a way of celebrating. It doesn't mean you have to have a lot of money. It doesn't mean that you have to, eat special food. It doesn't mean any of that. We have to find some of that joy. We have to celebrate something. It can be something that we've done. It could be that we cleaned our bathroom. It could be that we did dishes. It could be I finally used my second plate. I mean, I have 4 plates. But I use a second one instead of just using a wet one and wiping it off. Because I do own 4 plates. And it's like, oh, let's find something to celebrate. It's possible. No matter how small or large. And that number is 42, which we have to say is the perfect number, right? For the nerds out there, 42 is the number of the universe, everything. Oh my gosh, I've forgotten the quote because I'm a terrible person. I'm sure somebody will tell me I'm a terrible person, but that's okay. Anyway, Douglas Adams, 43, beautiful soul. Okay. We have a beautiful soul. We might not recognize it. We might be too focused on the outside. We might be too focused on land. We might be too focused property, which typically could also be considered like a way of land extending itself. So put on those rose-covered glasses. Your beautiful soul. And acknowledge that in every other person too, whether you agree with them or not. Now, I've gotten, I think, the next 2 cards both before, like 3 or 4 times. So I think that keeps going. Collective, the collective needs this. 45, Hungry Bunny, all you can eat. Benny is eating this delicious, biggest carrot. Indulge. Don't make yourself sick. Don't increase your blood pressure or your blood sugar. But indulge a little bit, live a little bit, and then enjoy it. No guilt. The next one is also a collective one that I get a lot. I am my best self when I am truly me. Fly free. Sorry, I've got my finger covering. Fly free. Not only have fun, be that kite. Feel that air around you, that peace, that silence, and just push everything away and celebrate, have that fun. Our final one, the odd sock. Sometimes we feel like we live a life of odd socks, right? Nothing matches, nothing makes sense, nothing, whatever. And then I think of, like, as a child, I used to put together crazy outfits. To be fair, I still put together crazy outfits. Usually my socks match. But I like the idea of the non-matching socks. Some of that whimsy, some of that celebration. And even if you feel like you're that odd person out, that odd sock, that odd one, the one that's, one piece of you, like one of your pair, the match is like somewhere lost in the laundry. It's okay. You can celebrate. You can be you. You can still be the odd sock. And sometimes you'll get worn as a pair, odd socks and all. And maybe your match will come up in the other part of the laundry. Okay. So I want us to celebrate. I want us to fly free. I want us to find places that console us, books that console us. It doesn't matter what time, space, wherever you are. Okay. We can all be in this energy of go, 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 anger, passion, fear, all at the same time. So, like, 4 places said to be at peace and to silence yourself pretty much. Stop thinking and celebrate. Celebrate small things. Celebrate being the odd sock. Okay. And I want to just thank you all. You have helped me immensely. I still feel the need to flee, but I've had fun too, and I can definitely, feel the love and like pat myself on the back and everything. So thank you so much for joining me. Take good care. Um, I wish you the best, no matter what the best is for you. Okay. So it is.